Good morning, and welcome to the 12 Attitudes and Responsibilities of Mastery. My name is Michael Bailey, and today is Wednesday, the 14th of September, 2016. Last week, we left off, I forget what this was. It was about principle of dignity. So today, we're going to start with self-love. Now, what we're talking about here, these are called the responsibilities, embodying the responsibilities of mastery. So let's start with self-love. All love begins with the divinity within the self. Self-love is a responsibility of spiritual maturity. Love others as you would love the self, and love the self as you would love others. Love is a really highly abused word on this planet. Love is usually the word that is applied to, can I steal your energy? I don't have enough of my own. It may be innocently done. I am lonely. I need you. Usually, love here means need. And need very often means feed. This is pretty blunt, but it is how love is being used. Love is need, and need is feed. Feed is sucking energy off somebody else because you do not know how to bring it through your own soul. This, what we're describing here, this lies at the heart of all politics and tyrannical leaders. They have no love for themselves, and so they have to take it from other people. We can choose the sincere affirmation that I am the love, and a firm commitment to embodying through action, thought, and creed this eternal Christic ideal. When you choose at one-ment with the living God source within you, you will know the love, be the love, embody the love, and thus you will see reflected everywhere around you the reality of the love that is the foundation of all creation. The degree to which you recognize and embrace the eternal love of the God source within you will be the degree to which you are able to identify, experience, recognize, and embrace the eternal love that is always present within all aspects of your external hologram. Here we have been gently guided back unto ourselves and to the innate power, love, responsibility, and accountability of the God source within us. And some things to think about and consider. What are different ways that we could use to embody the Christic ideal, I am the love? How can we be the love today? And some suggested affirmations. I am a living embodiment of absolute love. I am the love. Spiritual integrity. You have a Christos, meaning a Christos part of yourself. Stop looking outside for somebody else to answer your questions for you. Spiritual integrity is based on knowing oneself as a representative of God's source, a containment vessel of accumulating consciousness designed to harvest positive, fun, childlike, expansive, fearless, guilt-free experiential relationships, no matter the shape, texture, or challenges of individual circumstances. Knowing and believing in your ancestry and multidimensional self is intrinsic to the process of becoming more of what you want and less of what you do not want. Our shared desire and ambition is to change the tapestry of what we call life. We are the colors as much as we are the weft and weave. We are the substance through and by which we may experience a new and better world. That world already exists. That world already has lessons built into it from the past. That world does not contain certain ways of being. It actively holds as sacred such ways of being, as discussed briefly here, that some KSers, who are people who follow these teachings, have not yet realized are prerequisite to rightful passage. And time is running out. Excuse me. There are ways to make progress, and these ways are those which give the non-mutated aspects of our shields opportunity, time, and space to override the mutated aspects and the knee-jerk approach to life that is so deeply programmed into our shields currently. Shields, these are referring to the subtle body and energy fields. And that means making a conscious effort to choose differently, to choose higher, behaving differently, knowing and believing in your ancestry and multidimensional self is intrinsic to the process of becoming more of what you want and less of what you do not want. Once in a while, a little encouragement doesn't hurt. But so many of us are trained to have an outside expert tell us whether we are right or wrong. You need to be free from that if you are going to be a master of your own energy, your own hologram, and a teacher if that is what you want to be. Basically, what we're referring to here is a guru, for lack of a better term. You make the guru the master, and you're always the student. True masters do not have gurus. If you get into the monkey mind space, you can have a billion questions from now until eternity and always make sure you never ever have answers. You will have consistently unanswerable questions because you're looking for answers to interdimensional questions in a three-dimensional framework. Believing in our limitedness, in our smallness, there's always something bigger and more important that we need to worshipness. This is a thought pattern given to us to entertain. We may have to reperceive old paradigms and realize that God's source and the eternal self will connect directly with us through the inner pathways of consciousness inherent to our being. We can choose to believe that we do indeed have portions of ourselves that are valid in terms of the eternal and represent the only authority to which we should turn for interpretation of the nature of reality. Even if we're not feeling as though we are receiving any communication, we definitely are. There is a need for us, as awakened indigo team members, to become more clear about the communication between ourselves and our avatar, Rishi, and other Christos collectives. I'm going to pause here and explain. We have many levels of identity. The level of identity that exists here where we exist on the earth plane is called the incarnate personality. And this is in dimensions 1, 2, and 3. In the next harmonic universe is what we call our soul matrix. And then above our soul matrix is our oversoul. Above our oversoul is our avatar self. And above our avatar is called the Rishi. And beyond that, we get into states that are pure consciousness. This is the true ascended master state. We need to get used to receiving communications from these higher aspects of ourselves. It is important to start using and trusting these communications. They will often start by coming to us in sort of packages of understanding. By making a choice to trust, we create an opening in the perceptual veils through which the eternal self may shine through. By making a choice to trust, we can choose to use our minds to determine how much remembering will actually return. And thus we can begin to remember the truth of who we really are. Find out who we are, what is our true authentic self. And here are some things to think about. Try spending some time with your mentor today. Imagine you are your Christos self now. And do your best to make decisions from that space. In each moment, can you ask yourself, how would my Christos respond? Or if you don't quite understand what Christos means, how would Christ respond? Trust is a foundation of spiritual integrity, where one learns to trust their choices. Learn to trust your connection to God's source. How many times do we say, did I do an activation or a technique correctly? Did I trust my intent? Did it come out all right? Trust that intent is sufficient. The technique, if you're doing a technique, you're following a set of instructions. Whether you did it exactly perfect or not is irrelevant. It's your intent. This is true of just about anything. And some suggested self-affirmations. I choose now to act with spiritual integrity at all times. I trust in my eternal self now. Another component to embodying the responsibilities of mastery is appreciation. There is something to appreciate and to be grateful for in everything you have. Everything. Find the secret magical things that hold the spark of joy and be grateful for them. You will be amazed at how fast beautiful things begin to move into your life the more you do this. If you can spend more of the time focused that way and not on what you do not have that you want to get, you will get a lot more, a lot faster. And you will also find that you do not need as much, because you will find happiness where it lives, in the present moment. We have lost the art of saying thank you. We say thank you in our society as a social protocol. It is not felt here because you are saying thank you because someone told you to, your parents, your boss. You are obligated to appreciate the fact that somebody gave you something, or that God's source gave you life, or whatever it is. But if you did not like the gift that was given, you can say thank you, but you don't mean it. You'd really be better off saying, excuse me, I really don't want that. Thank you for the thought, though. That at least is honest. We have a right to honor our own space. And when somebody gives us a gift, we have a right to say, this is not me. We have a right to not judge other people if somebody does that to you. What would you feel if somebody said, it is really not my style, but if you like it, I would appreciate the gift. And I would take the gift in energy. And that is what is meaningful. But it would mean a lot to me if this gift could be appreciated by somebody who would really like the thing itself. Do you really like it? Do you want the gift? Is it okay with you if I pass it on to someone who would really like that style or type of thing? And some things to think about. Find the secret magical things that hold the spark of joy and be grateful for them. Do this often. You will be amazed at how fast beautiful things begin to move into your life. If you spend three quarters of the time focused that way and another quarter of the time still on what you do not have that you want to get, you will get a lot more a lot faster. You will also find you do not need as much, because you will find happiness where it lives. Some suggested spoken aloud affirmations. I honor my own space now. Thank you, God Source, for allowing me to be alive at this time to serve the Christos Realignment Mission. Fallen matrices and appreciation. In the parallel Eka, which is another sector of creation, there is a group, a race, called the Adonai, that were part of something that were called the Adoni races, that chose to fall, to create a last chance Christic matrix for those who could not reclaim the ability of full ascension, but could live the rest of their time out in a black hole system that was based on Christic principles. There are numbers of similar races in different time matrices, and they are the highest evolutionary imprint for a black hole system. When a person accepts a host into a matrix like that, they realize that the system is going to implode at some point in the future. That is what black holes will do. It's inevitable, no matter how much energy they steal from elsewhere. But if they make a deal with groups like the Adonai, they can still live in Christic principles of fairness, love, and equality. What the Adonai tend to do is appreciate. They have a level of appreciation that has taught some of the ascension races things that they never knew. Once you realize that you will never be able to ascend, once you realize that there will be at some point an end for you, and you realize that it is not the case for everybody, when you get over the fact that you are mad because someone else has it and you don't, you started with it, you lost it, you take responsibility for whatever it was you did that got you into that situation. Then there can be peace. There is then a level of appreciation that goes beyond appreciation. It's almost like somebody tells you, well, you have cancer and you've got 2 years to live. All of a sudden, the stupid stuff doesn't matter anymore. What matters are the beautiful and wonderful things in the world, the things that make you feel good. Well, the Adonai and similar types of fallen matrix races have an appreciation for art, music, architecture, and the perfected use of energy, because they are trying to use what they have left in the highest expression possible. So they do have some of the most beautiful forms of music, art, and architecture, and those types of things. We don't have to be a fallen race to appreciate, but we can certainly learn from their example. And some things to think about here. Take an appreciation break. Stop what you're doing right now or at some other time and just look for something to appreciate. Allow yourself to go into a state of gratitude. It might take a while. Some LTR statements, linguistic template reprogramming statements. I am gratitude. I appreciate all life. Thank you, God Source, for the opportunity to serve and to be alive. Appreciating the lesson. The E&Rs, who are the group of beings who brought us these teachings, look at us with great humor and respect because we are the part of the consciousness that came down into the densities and took on the mutations, all the Metatronic mutations. I suppose what we would call evil. So there's a huge amount of respect from the E&Rs towards us as Earth humans. The E&Rs, they represent our future selves. They look at us as the courageous parts of themselves that chose to go into the direct line of fire and take on the greatest risks. That is why they are so committed to helping us get out. We came into this with love and total knowing that life is eternal. The human collective, the E&Rs collectives, the indigo collectives, they all had enough faith in themselves. They knew they could come in, take on the worst of it, and they knew that some would fall. However, they knew it was worth it. They knew they had the power to reawaken and to heal it. Only then, if they took on the mutation and healed it within themselves, would they understand it enough to go out and try to heal anything remaining from other fallen matrices that might be able to be healed. They also needed to understand how beings could act the way they did, how things could be violent towards each other because that was a foreign condition to angelic humans and indigos and the E&Rs. You know, I remember when I was a child, that's the exact thing I remember. I could not understand how my parents, for example, could be so loving and tender in one moment, and the next moment my father was literally tossing my mother across the room and pinning her down and slapping her. I could not understand how somebody could do this. So there is a lesson that we all agreed we needed to learn because we just did not understand what fallen consciousness was or what it meant. In learning this lesson, we can arrive at a point where we can say, I remember when the DNA was shut off and I was walking around in a hologram filled with all kinds of distorted energies that was coming out in emotions and stuff that I didn't know what they were. Now we know. Now I understand how people can be the way they are. But as a child, it escaped me. It was just such a quandary. We need to be able to get over that hump and get back into that center of power that was always the human condition. That is when we begin to appreciate the lesson and are able to use it practically. That is the point in our evolution where we are at now. It is time to wake up so that we can begin to understand how we got ourselves into this in the first place. And some things to ponder and think about. Spend some time finding something to appreciate in all you see and do. Tell someone that you don't even know how much you appreciate what they do. The lady who sells flowers on the corner, the guy who shines your shoes, the friendly cashier at the grocery store. Some affirmations spoken aloud. I am truly blessed. I give thanks now for all the gifts I receive daily. Patients. They're not people in a hospital. God's source has its own schedule. If that is not right now, there is a very good reason for this. If time does not cooperate with your expectations, you can let that be okay and trust in divine right timing. The Guardian Alliance, which is the organization that the EONI belong to, they don't share our limitations on time. So if there is something that needs to be shared but is under wraps, they will give it to Speaker 1 at the very last possible minute, more often than not delaying the start of a workshop. As a result, the ending time of the workshop is pushed up. And those of us who participated have come to cooperate in this flow of work by our understanding and our patience. I'm glad that most of you know us are patient and have adapted well to Guardian time. Okay, here she's speaking to the audience. Guardian time is interesting. There are many lessons to the workshops, and many are what people learn from being with each other in these workshops, and they learn this about each other. There are lessons we learn about reacting to things. Everything from workshops being at a different time than you thought or were advertised, to dinners not being how you ordered them when you got your package. All of these are actually a form of training for what we are all here for in the first place. You think we're going to get very far if we whine about the menu when we literally get to the ascension gates, or what some people call the gates of heaven? Where are the pearlies? Where are the angels? Where are the Rolls Royces? We have been taught to be hyperactive, reactionary, and very demanding in certain ways emotionally. We tend to feel insecure if things do not go exactly the way they are supposed to. This is a way of dealing with the insecurity we feel inside. Actually, it is a coping mechanism. We all start from a place of insecurity here on earth because deep down in our souls, we know what we walked into. We know what we birthed into down here on earth. We knew it was a prison camp, and we knew that we came in as the ones to help set it free. There comes a time when you realize that you came from somewhere else. Many of us, at least, not everybody, but most of us. After that, the homesickness, it can be awful. Many of us went through a lot in our early years of just being horribly homesick. It was everything to do with going home to our people, to the Christos people, because there is a place of love. Remember I said earlier how as a child I could not understand how people could act the way they did. Well, this is because I know where I came from. There is no sickness. There is no violence. There is no war. There are no police. There's not even money. But it's really about love. The systems here are not built on anti-Christic principles like they are here. Supply and demand, competition. Where I come from, everything's based on cooperation. And I remember that. We have to relearn what it means to be Christic beings, to remember what it means to get everything we need vertically, meaning without going horizontally out and asking others, but going inward and up to our higher aspects and stations of identity, just from our own connection to God's source. So if you don't have a connection to God's source, how are you going to be able to go vertical? How are you going to be able to go within for the answers if you haven't cultivated a connection? This allows us to get rid of those compensation patterns, again, these coping mechanisms where you try to get stuff from the outside, from other people. It doesn't mean you refuse to accept things from other people. But when you go through life trying to get more money, trying to get more love, you are going what's called horizontal. When you do that, you are saying over and over to yourself, my Christos self is not real. It is not alive. There's a big shift in the 3D mind that needs to happen in order to get to the point where you can actually walk through a real Stargate, not a metal ring. One is realizing this should not be hard because I am from there anyway. Secondly, I better remember how to do this. We've received all the technicals, and there are attitudes that we need to have. Oh my God, what am I going to do if I get through? Do I remember how to speak Anuhazi? We don't have to worry about that because they can use any language that we have. They can translate. If you walk through an actual Stargate, on the other side, you will be greeted. The question is, how will you behave? A lot of people, and the Yanni are used to this, freak out from the experience of you having your body turn into light and then back into matter again. This is what happens when you ascend, when you walk through a Stargate. Your body becomes light, and then back to matter again. When they get on the other side, sometimes they think they died because there's this really weird sound that happens in the ears right before it happens. I'll be honest, myself, I have a very, very vague memory of this experience. It is like that white noise static, and then it stops, and then there's like a pop, and you don't know where you went for a second. It's like you went into nothingness. It is like your consciousness shut off for a second, and then it popped back on. You find yourself again, and there is that rush sound in your ears. Everything goes white, and then you fade back into perception. Most people, when they get through that one, they're rolling on the ground in hysterics. And the people on the other side, like the Iani, are used to like patting them on the shoulder and saying, you had a rough trip that time, but you're okay. Once we get through the initial, oh my God, I just walked through a Stargate, some people just go down and kiss the ground. And the one thing that the Iani do not want you to do if you get through a gate, please do not bow down and kiss their feet. They hate that. They really do. They feel so bad for people who are programmed into doing that. If you feel love for them or for yourself and you are glad they are there and you are glad you got out, just give them a hug and say, thank you. I made it. They are they are not into the subservient thing. They are ascended masters. But they will be the last ones to use that word or to put it in your face. They want to be your friends. They are your friends. They are your family. They are you in a future timeline, literally. Patience for the long haul. Life on Earth can get very weary at times. Healthy personal desires, those that support and advance the Christos evolution of the whole, will be automatically granted in divine right, time, and order by placing fulfillment of the Christos intention as the only needed priority. I sense the restlessness in many of you. I feel it in myself. While we realign ourselves with new tasks and we begin to understand what role we will take in this brave new world, it might be a bit disconcerting. But I know in every fiber of my being it will unfold for us all, given time and patience. There are some who have mentioned that there is no more work to do, that we just need to find a way to get out of here quick. I can reassure you that is not the case. We still have plenty of work to do. We are very much needed here to assist in anchoring the frequencies into the earth grids. We are still very much of service. We have much to teach others in assisting them to clear their templates, to become truly free. The times are changing, but the task remains the same one that we've been doing here for a few million years. Share the freedom teachings, clear our distortions of fallen angelic programs, and get as much out of here that can be carted, carried, or hosted. Some of you may not understand what I'm talking about, but that's okay. Some things to think about. When you find yourself becoming impatient, like tapping your foot, or otherwise feeling rushed, especially if you're driving, take a divine time out. Breathe and proclaim divine right order in that situation right now. And some suggested affirmations. I am divine right timing, divine right balance, and divine right order. I am divine right timing. I am divine right balance. I am divine right order. Kindness. Kindness implies being conscientious and caring towards the needs, feelings, and desires of both the self and others. Be gentle with yourselves. In our society, we are brought up to be hard on ourselves. We are taught to continually compete with others and ourselves as though we have to prove ourselves to someone else. So the thought that we should have done more or done something better or faster is a continuous thread that runs through everything we do. This attitude spills over into our approach to techniques. We wonder whether we are doing enough. We start to ask others what their daily technique schedules are, and again wonder if we are doing enough, especially if we're not having epiphanies like other people describe. If someone else is doing more than we are, or having seemingly wonderful results, we obviously begin to question our own ability to progress in our healing. Instead of going at our own pace and doing what seems and feels right to us, we instead lock ourselves into a cycle of self-judgment. At these times, it is useful to remember the following. You are making more progress than you think. So go easy on yourself and keep doing what you are doing. People who get into the glamour of it and people who actually take their own face off because they're not doing it well enough do not really get any applause from me. One side is understating their ability, the other is probably overstating their ability, thus producing a non-Christic effect. For those who do not feel you are seeing or feeling as much as you think you can, Just continue to think and believe you can, because you will. Each person experiences doing a technique differently from someone else. And let's think of the word technique, think of meditation, if that may make a little better sense. So each person experiences a meditation differently than someone else. Some of you may feel less than because you can't see a thing or experience it in the way you overhear other people talking about it afterwards. As far as the effect of the technique is concerned, know that regardless of how you rate your sensory abilities, the effect of the technique is occurring equally amongst all people that are present. There is no difference between individuals in this regard. Understand that no one gets this more or less than anybody else. Everyone gets it exactly the same, no matter how well or how badly you think you are doing. The effect remains the same. If you're going to heal your hologram, take it back to its core as energy. Be gentle with yourself. Show yourself kindness. Forgive yourself ahead of time. Don't allow yourself to get so angry at yourself that you begin to judge yourself. Stay in love with yourself. Not as a narcissist, but self-love. This will help you to remain in a state of vibrational harmonization. Remember, love is a state of vibrational harmonization. And stay in love with other people as well. Realize at times others are having a bad day. We are all in a life process, and it does not always look perfect, but the process is perfect. The perfection is given. Our challenge is to expand on what perfection means for us. So do yourselves a favor and each other. Be gentle with yourselves. Patience, allowance, tough love for ourselves as well as others, all stirred in with a heaping helping of kindness and gentleness is needed. The road to healing is sometimes a rocky one. Some things to think about. Do a random, do a random or anonymous act of kindness today. Find a way to be kind to yourself. Celebrate yourself in some way today. How does performing a random act of kindness help you learn to be kindness? What could you possibly manifest in your hologram through kindness? And some suggested affirmations. I send love and respect now in honor of the God source that lives in us all. I am a gentle being. And I'm going to leave you with that for today. We'll pick up next week with conservation. Thank you.